Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottama devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 11. Lord Ramachandra rules the world. Text number 8. Kadachit loka jignasur Kadachilloka jignasur Gudho ratriam alakshitaha Gudho ratriam alakshitaha Charan vacho ashunod Ramo Charan vacho shunod Ramo Bharya uddishya kasyachid Bharya uddishya kasyachid Kadachilloka jigyasur Gudho ratriam alakshitaha Charan vacho shunod Ramo Bharyamuddishya kasyached Kadachilloka jigyasur Gudho ratriam alakshitaha Charan vacho shunod Ramo Bharyamuddishya kasyachit Kadachilloka jigyasur Gudho ratriam alakshitaha Charan vacho shunod Ramo Bharyamuddishya kasyachit Kadachilloka jigyasur Gudho ratriam alakshitaha Charan vacho shunod Ramo Bharyamuddishya kasyachit. Word for meaning. Kadachit, once upon a time. Loka jignasuhu, desiring to know about the public. Gudha, hiding himself by a disguise. Ratriam, at night. Alakshitaha, without being identified by anyone else. Charan, walking. Vachaha, speaking. Ashrunot, heard. Ramaha, Lord Ramachandra. Bharyam, unto his wife. Uddishya, indicating. Kasyachet, of someone. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Shukadeva Goswami continued. Once, while Lord Ramachandra was walking at night incognito, hiding himself by a disguise to find out the people's opinion of himself, he heard a man speaking unfavorably about his wife Sita Devi. Please repeat this translation. Shukadeva Goswami continued. Once while Lord Ramachandra was walking at night incognito, hiding himself by a disguise to find out the people's opinion of himself, he heard a man speaking unfavorably about his wife Sita Devi. Text 9, I'll read by myself. Naham bibharmitvam dushtam asatim paraveshmagam straino hi bibhyat Sitam Ramo naham bhaje punaha. Translation. Speaking to his unchaste wife, the man said, "You go to another man's house, and therefore you are unchaste and polluted. I shall not maintain you any more. A henpecked husband like Lord Rama may accept a wife like Sita, who went to another man's house. But I am not henpecked like him, and therefore I shall not accept you again." Thus end the Bhaktivedanta Swami translations to text 8 and 9 of chapter 11, canto 9 of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the description of Lord Ramachandra's pastimes by Shukadeva Goswami continues in this chapter also. Ramachandra rules the world. So it was already described in the previous verses that during the reign of Lord Ramachandra, the forests, the rivers, the hills and mountains, the states, the 7 islands, 7 seas were all favorable in supplying necessities of life for all living beings. When Lord Rama was ruling the world, all bodily and mental suffering, disease, old age, bereavement, lamentation, distress, fear, fatigue were completely absent. There was not even death for those who did not want it. So excellent rule of Lord Ramachandra. And in such a kingdom, Ramachandra thought that let me find out what is common people's opinion about the king. He is meant to rule the citizens. And among the citizens, generally he'll be surrounded by advisors, the Brahmanas, and other ministers, and other leaders of different sections of society. But what about the common people? So one day he disguised himself and went at night. And while walking, hiding himself behind a disguise, that means people could not make out who's this person. Some person is just walking, if at all they saw. And he could not be seen easily also because it's dark at night. He hid himself and heard a man speaking unfavorably about Sita Devi. What is this man speaking? This man speaking to his unchaste wife. What did he say to his wife? You go to another man's house and therefore you are unchaste and polluted. I shall not maintain you anymore. So this portion of this verse speaks about the culture. That the culture was so very advanced that a chaste woman will never go to anybody else's house. unless she is taken by her husband or accompanied by any elderly, responsible person. She will never on her own go away or go to anybody else's house. This is standard of chastity. So because this woman, this wife of that man, went to another man's house, obviously she went without being accompanied by another responsible man. So therefore, she is being charged by her husband as, you are unchaste and polluted. Therefore, I shall not maintain you anymore. So this much what he spoke, he's speaking highly of the culture. But what he is telling next is totally wrong. What is he telling? A henpecked husband like Lord Rama may accept a wife like Sita, who went to another man's house. So Sita was kidnapped by Rama. Sorry, I'm really sorry. Sita was kidnapped by Ravana when Rama was in the forest. So obviously the citizens of Ayodhya, they don't know firsthand what actually happened. They have heard that Rama was in exile, and during the period of exile, Sita was kidnapped. And to rescue Sita, Rama had to wage a battle against Ravana. And in that battle, Ravana and his whole army was destroyed. And Sita was rescued and Sita was brought back. By that time, the period of exile was over. So Sita was rescued by Rama and brought back. Now, this man is telling, how could Rama accept Sita back when she was in another man's house? Means she was in Ravana's custody. How could Rama accept her back? So this man is describing Rama as a henpecked husband, strainam. Very, very serious charge he is making against Lord Rama. Strainam hi bibryat sitam ramo naham bhaje punaha. But I am not henpecked like Rama. Rama accepted Sita even though it is against the culture, the etiquette, that a man will not accept, a civilized person will not accept his wife if she has gone to somebody else's house. She stayed away from her own home. So, the reality is that Sita is the most chaste woman. That is described in the Ramayana. I'll read a portion of the Ramayana which very nicely describes this. Ramayana is a beautiful Sanskrit poem, poetry composed by one of the greatest poets in history, Valmiki. In all of Sanskrit literature, Ramayana is regarded as the topmost in terms of Sanskrit composition. Very, very, very beautiful composition by Valmiki. So, I'm not going to read the Sanskrit because I don't know Sanskrit myself. I'm going to read the English. And we have a nice translation by one of the devotees, a disciple of Prabhupada, Krishna Dharmadas. Very nicely he has translated. Of course, he has not given the full translation. He has given just the gist of the pastimes of Rama. So I'm reading from selected portions. I've selected. A lot of material is there, even in this abridged version of Ramayana, written by a translation by Krishna Dharmadas. It's quite big, but I'm selecting, because I have very little time, I'm selecting a small portion. So the section I've selected is Hanuman has reached Lanka and he's searching for Sita. After searching everywhere in Ravana's palace and all his other mansions, he could not find Sita. Then he's dejected and he's thinking that I had to return back. Sita is not to be found. Maybe she's somewhere else. She's hidden somewhere else by Ravana. So when he's about to return, he saw a nice garden. And he thought, let me just check out this garden. So he's searching in the garden in one place under one particular tree. There were so many Rakshasis surrounding one saintly looking lady. So immediately it caught Hanuman's attention and he went closer. And he saw, carefully looked at, in the moonlight, it was night. But there was nice moonshine. And through the clearance between the branches of the trees, he could see Sita sitting in the midst of so many Rakshasis. So he went closer and observed. He had heard Sita's description from Rama. So he closely observed and he got confirmation, this is Sita Devi. And Hanuman decided to approach Sita Devi very carefully when all the Rakshasis were away and nobody is able to find out anything about his visit. Secretly had to do his work. He just was supposed to collect information, where is Sita, and report to Rama. But before that, Rama had given him a ring of his to be shown to Sita and assure her that Rama is going to come and rescue her. So Hanuman was carrying that ring with him. So he wanted to carefully give that ring, assure Sita Devi that Rama is looking for you. And now that you have been found, Rama is going to come and rescue you. So, what was Hanuman's way of introducing himself to Sita Devi? So he decided to remain in the tree under which Sita was sitting and sing praises of Rama so that Sita could hear. And the Rakshasis who were surrounding Sita at that time had just moved away and Sita was all alone. So Hanuman began to speak little loudly. In the city of Ayodhya there lived a great ruler named Dasharatha. That lordly king begot a valiant son named Rama, who possesses every good quality. Going to the forest in obedience to his aged and pious father, Prince Rama slayed in battle many violent demons. And then he described, the full thing is not given in the Ramayana, a brief description of Rama's story till the time he lost Sita. It's described in brief very beautifully. So Sita was struck with wonder to hear the voice from the tree. She looked up all around, feeling joy upon hearing Rama's activities being described so nicely. For the first time she is hearing after her abduction. So she gazed and she saw a tiny monkey atop the tree. So the monkey sat humbly with his palms folded. So she was wondering, what is this monkey doing in the tree? And was this Ravana's trick? Ravana was trying to somehow trick Sita into accepting him and forget about Rama. So she was praying to the Devatas that Hanuman's words might prove true, that he is not an agent of Ravana. So then, when Sita looked up and there was eye contact with Sita, and Hanuman decided, let me now go down. So he came down, then he bowed down before Sita and he said to her, I assume you are Sita, consort of the highly blessed Rama. I am an envoy dispatched by Rama to seek you, O noble lady. Along with his brother Lakshmana, Rama waits in grief for some news about your whereabouts. So Sita felt very overjoyed to hear of Rama, but still she was suspicious. What if Ravana has sent somebody in disguise like a monkey to play a trick upon her? So anyway, so then she looked at Hanuman and asked, how can I know that you're not Ravana? She straightaway asked him. So Hanuman reassured her. He described Rama and Lakshmana's features in detail and told her everything he had heard about Rama and Lakshmana. Then he also told that now that I have found you, I will soon return to Rama, and you will see your Lord arrive here marching at the head of an unlimited number of powerful monkeys and bears. And he will completely destroy this Ravana and this army and rescue you. Don't worry. So then she felt unlimited joy. Then she praised Hanuman. You have achieved a great feat in crossing this wide ocean and entering this fortified city. O noble monkey, surely you are the foremost of Ravana's servants. Then Hanuman heard from Sita how Ravana was threatening her again and again to kill her. So she told Hanuman, don't waste any time. Immediately go and get Rama before this Ravana even attempts to kill her. So then Hanuman thought, is there enough time for me to go and bring Rama here? Hanuman thought, let me take myself, Sita Devi, across. So he spoke to Sita Devi. He said, let me take you from this place immediately. You may climb upon my back and you shall leap across the sea with ease. Don't be fearful. I could easily carry the whole of Lanka, Ravana and all. Therefore, mount upon my back and I shall transport you to Rama's presence this very day. So Sita looked at Hanuman. This small monkey is certainly a monkey. Monkey-like brain he has got. So she is telling, your proposal is surely quite monkey-like. How shall I even get on your back? You're such a small monkey. You're going to carry me on your tiny back? So Hanuman was a little taken aback. For the first time, somebody had questioned his power and his strength. Because everybody else knew what is Hanuman's strength and power. So then Hanuman thought, let me give her a demonstration. So he began to expand his body. He grew his body to a huge size. And then he looked down upon Sita and said, I have the capacity to lift this entire island of Lanka So don't be in doubt whether I can lift you and take you safely. Then Sita gazed at Hanuman in amazement, and she was reassured that his ability is there to take her. But then she said, "You are like the wind god himself, dear monkey. When you fly with great speed, it will be difficult for me to hold fast unto you. The force of your flight will likely render me unconscious. I will then fall into the ocean only to be devoured by fierce aquatics." So your plan is not a very feasible one. So then, Sita also explained so many of the reasons. I'm not going to go into that because I don't have time. Then she also told one more thing to Hanuman, that I have vowed never to touch the body of any man other than Rama. What is this called? Chastity. I am already mortified due to being grasped by the sinful Ravana. I could not voluntarily touch any other man, nor could I allow anyone other than Rama to rescue me. I could not allow anybody else other than Rama to rescue me. I don't want to diminish Rama's fame. Therefore, I shall wait for my Lord Rama to come and rescue me. Please go and bring him. Hanuman then realized that Sita is so chaste that she cannot be touched by me. No. So he decided, let me go and get her. This is just a small portion I have read describing Sita's chastity. There are many, many other portions in the Ramayana which describe Sita's chastity. Just to mention, when Ravana used to approach Sita and try to induce her to give up hope of Rama coming and rescuing her and boasting about his achievements, Sita would chastise Ravana and tell him that I am a chaste woman. Even in my wildest dreams, I will never think of another man. Then when Ravana would threaten her, that I'll cut you to pieces and make a nice feast out of your flesh. Because Ravana is a Rakshasa. Rakshasas are also eaters of human flesh. Among meat eaters, there are different grades of meat eaters. The ones who follow the Vedic directions how they can consume meat, they will only eat goat flesh, that also after offering in sacrifice to Kali. Among meat eaters. And then there are ones who say that it's okay to eat some lower animals without offering in sacrifice, like pigs and some other lower creatures. Then there are these Rakshasas. They're also called cannibals in English. In Africa, there are some tribes who also eat human flesh apart from eating other flesh. So this flesh eaters who also eat human flesh are called cannibals. So in that tribe, they have a custom that when somebody becomes old, then they are considered to be a burden for their tribal society because they can't do any work. And they simply sit and eat. They become weak. Their health may not be good. Their senses may not be strong. So what is the use? Anyway, they're going to die after some number of years. So better kill them and make a nice feast out of their flesh and eat that. So, my point is, Ravana was a Rakshasa. So, he's accustomed to eating even human flesh. So, he would threaten Sita that if you don't submit to me voluntarily, then I'm going to kill you and finish you off. So, Sita Devi would say, better you kill me and finish off this body. But I will not submit to you. So even at the cost of her life, she would not submit to Ravana, never. So these are all descriptions of Sita's chastity. These are descriptions of Sita's chastity. And at the end, one more point I'd like to mention is that after Rama rescued Sita, after the whole battle with Ravana, the Ravana was destroyed. Then Rama knew that Sita is chaste, but just for convincing others that she is chaste, he decided to do one Agni Pariksha. She asked Sita to enter a blazing fire. And if she is really chaste, then she will come out without being burnt by that fire. So Sita underwent that test and came out successful. So that was proof that actually she was chaste, even while remaining in captivity under Ravana. Even in her mind, even for one moment, she never even considered, let me forget about Rama and enjoy with Ravana. Never. So in her mind, in her words, even in her actions, physical actions, she was always chaste, always thinking only of Rama, meditating on Rama, always. So, she is the supreme chaste woman. And this useless fellow, enjoying in Rama's kingdom the wonderful rule of Lord Ramachandra, he is still thinking that Rama is a henpecked husband. Just because he accepted Sita, this fellow doesn't know about the Agni Pariksha. He doesn't know. So, this helps us understand how the material world, even people who follow the Vedic injunctions very strictly, because of not having complete knowledge about the truth, due to ignorance or due to speculation, they wrongly assess another person, or they may be wrongly having some misunderstanding. You see how this person, he is strict follower of the Vedic injunction. But he is wrongly thinking that the king, Rama, he is not strict follower. Because he accepted Sita. He doesn't know what has actually happened in Lanka. He doesn't know about Agni Pariksha. This is the danger of hearing incompletely or hearing from a wrong source, something about which we don't have first-hand knowledge, should be very careful to hear from another source and get to know about something which we don't have first-hand experience. Like people generally be curious, 14 years in exile, how did Rama spend? All the citizens in Ayodhya, they're happy Rama has come back and he's ruling nicely, he's coronated and ruling nicely. But they would like to know. But unless they hear from the right source, that's the first thing, they will not know accurately what actually happened. Secondly, unless they hear completely, again, they will not know exactly what happened. This person has heard, oh, Sita was kidnapped by Ravana. And then Rama rescued Sita Devi and brought her back. That much he has heard. But he has not heard about the Agni Pariksha. You see? So the lesson for us is that particularly when it comes to understanding the personality of the Supreme Lord, if we hear from wrong source or we hear incompletely, we will make so many mistakes in our understanding of the transcendental personality of the Supreme Lord. The Mayavadis, they read the Upanishads describing the Supreme Absolute Truth, not having hands, not having legs. So they conclude the Supreme Absolute Truth is formless. Yes, the description that without hands and without legs suggests that the Supreme may be formless. But they not read the portions where the transcendental form of the Lord is described as not having material hands, but having a spiritual form with beautiful spiritual hands, spiritual legs. That they have not read. They have not studied. So Prabhupada many times describes these Mayavadis with a poor fund of knowledge. They describe the absolute truth as formless. They deny the personality of Krishna, Rama, Narasimha, Varaha. They deny transcendental personality. So therefore, we should hear properly from the right source and we should gather complete information. That's why we always hear from Prabhupada, who's coming in Parampara and who's presenting exactly the accurate description of Krishna, Rama, Supreme Absolute Truth, the personality. Then only we can understand properly. I'll stop here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.